Yeah, ho. Hello. Terrance Prescott in the building again with another fantasy file titled Talk Back. Production date June the 20th, 2017. About 8,564 words. Enjoy the read. This one isn't sexual like the last one. Thought I'd give you a break with your hoe ass. XD. The characters in this one are Terrance Prescott and Dope Donovan. The five of us walk up to Longtime University, the special beyond urban legend of a school of arts that's located in South Charlotte. We are here today on a Saturday to take a class called Talk Back, held by a music professor who wants to try to give words and questionnaires on the dynamics of gay males from all walks of life of the LGBTQIA. I'm not sure why Sonny, Dunny, Gunny, and Ronnie chose me to come, but I came. The music professor's name is Darius Donovan Ferdinand. Didn't know it at that time until we walked into the class upon Professor Ferdinand sitting on his desk talking to a school of twinks. All five of us walked into the class last, courtesy of Gunny's always late ass. My red eyes saw perfectly. My lavender beard shifted because of my left hand, and my body changed. But because of those things, people started looking at me. Then everyone started looking at me. Professor Ferdinand looked in my direction and his reaction was the same as mine. Eyes in pure, perfect vision. His left hand on his beard, and he seemed to perk up. His green and gray eyes were strong with his chocolate skin, jet black hair, muscled bare physique, and words streaming across his neck as my eyes trickled across, up and down his neck to his clavicles. All I could think of was, damn, he looked like he takes care of himself for somebody who comes across as a white guy with a name like that. I wasn't expecting him to be black. Then I thought, I don't do expectations. Then I thought I should expect this to be a thrilling time. For some odd reason, the seats were named. I, unfortunately, got stuck in between the four guys I came with. They know I didn't like that. Then Sonny pushed me into sitting on the aisle. The other three guys said I shouldn't take it because of the way everyone was looking at me. But then I said, y'all aren't fooling me. I know they saw how Professor Ferdinand was looking at me. They all sat down quickly, which had me standing up looking mad at them. They started giggling while looking away, but I called it sniggling before I sat down. Everyone else started going to their designated seats. Then Professor Ferdinand came up to me and asked me to come here. I stood up, then he whispered that he's glad I took the aisle seat. Oh, Doug. So at this time, what was that show called? House of Cards on Netflix, and Kevin Spacey was the star of the show and whatnot. And at that time in the show, when Doug was acting up, and they wanted him to be a scapegoat, they said, "Oh, Doug," and then his wife said, "Oh, Doug," and then they used him to take the brunt of a situation that would have X'd him out of being a president and whatnot. And if you've seen House of Cards, you know what I'm talking about. So for a short period of time, I started saying, "Oh, Doug." So let me get back to the story. I stood up, then he whispered that he's glad I took the aisle seat. Oh, Doug. I said while he told me that I'll find out, and so will the class. Looking around the room, I believe all of the seats were full. The oldest people were in the front. The youngest were in the back. It was kind of shaped like How to Get Away with Murder's classroom. 5 rows up and down, 3 sections, 6 seats for each row. We were in the middle, but I had an aisle seat. The oldest in the class was 54. The youngest was 19. With me being 35, I had to do the math with the age differences from rows 1 to 5, filled with so much culture differentials, and generations. All I could think was, today is going to be a weird day. Professor Ferdinand wrote his name on the middle chalkboard for all 90 of us to see. Darius Donovan then wrote Dope under and over Darius, then wrote an arrow to show that he prefers to be identified as Dope Donovan, not Professor Ferdinand. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that was thinking I need a few lines of Dope Donovan, but with how much eye contact he was already giving me, I felt like he wanted to do a few lines of me. Then I started regretting coming here for this lame-ass class. After clearing up his identification, he went on to welcome us to talk back. Dope cleared his throat again to say, "Welcome to Talk Back. This class is about interactions that deal with the guy on guy, man to man. I want to collect as much data for a statistical measuring of the common ways the LGBTQIAs communicate to each other, so that psychologists at the university can prepare to release some data in our monthly issue for our college students that take psych courses. As the site and brochure said, we have a few questionnaires for everyone to go through. Before each questionnaire, I'm going to engage in conversation with the entire room. You don't personally have to engage, but think about what's being said in the conversations we all have before you open a questionnaire and during them. Each questionnaire is longer than the other. They go from perfect and wrong strangers to friendships and intimate ships, to closure or never talking to me again. All of these questions were submitted by actual alumni of the university. They hope you'll be honest about your answers as well as entertaining. It's all for fun until we kind of get to the heartbreak section of the class. I hope you all find this informative, entertaining, helpful, thoughtful, and interesting. So let's begin with introductions. I want someone in specific to introduce himself to the class. Loud, semi-proud, but loud and concise, because this will change everything I was expecting from today. I laugh silently. Then he points to me while saying, he already thinks it's funny. I laugh silently. Then he points to me while saying, he already thinks it's funny. So go ahead and be funny, Terrance. While signaling for me to come to the front of the class, to his chalked, carpeted circle, this prompted my gang to start oohing and awing as hype man. All I could do was straight face while declining the offer. Dope said, "Nah, since you're literally the only one in here with a lavender, light kind of beard, come up here and tell us how you communicate with strangers." Sonny got up to physically make me get up while everyone was laughing at how gloomy my walk was. I cleared my throat, then remained silent as I waved and casually looked at everyone in an almost slow manner. After I waved to the entire class, then turned around and waved to Dope, I began with, "Hello, everyone. I'm Asian. The kind of Asian that doesn't communicate with strangers, even on dating apps, because I don't have any." Dope interrupted with, "You can't do that." "So if anyone in this room came up to you and asked you for directions on the street, would you not talk to them?" I said, "Nope." He then asked, "What about at a bar? If a man asked you what you want and was clearly offering, you wouldn't talk to him?" I answered with, "Maybe, plus, and if I was talking to him, I'd probably get the drink, go up it, and then go home." Everyone laughs, and Dope says, "Continue." I think quickly, then say, "See, I'm a very difficult person because I'm an open book to the public because I have blogs. I get on cam, post almost everything on my mind all day long on social media. I'm very open, unlike my legs, regardless of how much I put out there, whether it's G-rated, R-rated, or X-rated. I unfortunately am silent with a speech impediment I usually have difficulty with because it physically hurts to talk. But since I like to talk about heavy things like this class and mental processes that come with who you are as a person, it's hard to talk to me. I like dreams, psychotherapy, serial killers, violence, orgasms, drawing, writing, creating, what keeps us up at night, first thing and last thing on your mind kind of stuff. So when I talk to people, I like deep conversations about bullshit to real shit, as thick as possible, as thick as thieves. If I feel like I'm not getting compound root explanations, there's not much I can do with you. I began to walk back to my seat, but Dope stops me to say, and no one wondering why I chose Terrance to explain the way he communicates. It's because he looks different. Therefore, he could be different. But everyone wants something. He just happens to want death. I may not have him pinpointed completely, but how much death do you desire, Terrance? I answer with, enough death to fulfill my diet. Heavy amounts, like from the abyss, big deep. There's nothing like sustenance. Dope then asks me, who in this class looks like they have death to you? I reply with, no one. I don't judge books by their cover. I judge how much they open up. Flipping them pages is the only way to understand their depth and why they choose to look the way they look. Dope then asked me to tell everyone why I look the way I look. I tell them all, lavender is my favorite color. It took me an entire book of colors to choose the only one that agreed with my eyes. Kindergarten was when I made that choice. All of my choices in life takes time. But it wasn't until I saw 7th Streeter with lavender hair for Don't Kill the Fun that I wanted to actually have lavender hair. It may be a pale color, but the sight of it helps me live, and the smell of it helps me dream. Dream vision is something I'm a professional in. My eyes be red because I wanted the dynamic of my eyes, my skin, and my hair to promote dream vision. Regardless of my clothes being plain Jane, directed, or should I say plain Joe. Then I wait for everyone to respond, but they don't until I say, well, then we all laugh. While I ask Dope, am I done? He said he didn't want me to be. Then I said I didn't sign up to be the professor's pet. We chuckled, and he said, yeah, I'm done, unless I want to be the center of attention. I say I'm done. Then he says, wait. He quiets the room so he can ask me, room. Terrance says he doesn't like to be the center of attention. How many of you believe him? Whoever thinks I like being the center of attention raised their hand, which was almost everyone but the 4 guys I came with. Then Dope asks me, do I like being the center of attention? I say no. He asks why. I answer with, that's never been my jam. He says understood and asks me to take a seat. Dope then begins to say that I am among the middle age group of the entire room, 35. Now I need for one of the younger and one of the oldest to come up. A chubby 20-year-old came thumping down the stairs while a thin 50-year-old guy walked up to the circle. Dope began asking questions to identify them. Their names were Marco, the 20-year-old, and Trent, the 54-year-old. Dope then stated he had asked them questions separately. He asked Marco, is he either or both, wild and or young? Marco says both. He asked Trent, is he out and or about? Trent says both. He asked Marco, does he have an affordable sex life or an expensive one, ranging from logical to illogical? Marco says affordable because he likes to be safe. Trent gets the same question and says affordable because he doesn't get down a lot. Dope then asks, can they elaborate on their sexual activity depending on how much they converse with a guy? Marco says it ranges from hooking up to friends with benefits to his boyfriend. Trent says it ranges from friends with benefits after getting to know a guy for a while. No boyfriend. Dope asks Marco, would you rather be friends with someone who doesn't have a lot in common with you, or someone who is more like you? Marco says both. Trent says he'd rather have someone more like him around. Dope asks Marco, what are some of your favorite colors? Marco says red, orange, and green. Dope asks Trent, what are some of your favorite places? Trent says his bed, his job, in Ireland. Dope thanks them for their time, then tells everyone to try to remember how different the questions were from the age groups, but everything they said. Then proceeds to say, I'm 35 years old, same as Terrance. I don't think I'll ever dye my hair a color as out there as his, but I have a body full of tattoos already. We decorate differently, so we communicate differently. Do you believe that we are different, even though we are the same age and are of the same ethnicity? Like you believe how different Marco and Trent are, with them being of Latino descent, but different ages. Do you think we could be similar in any aspects, any walks of life, or any mental processes? What would it take for you to get to know about someone from small talk to deep talk? Does appearance always give you enough to get to know someone? Does their energy give you enough to get to know someone? Does how often you see someone is enough to get to know someone? Does your sex life give you enough to get to know someone? Does their grammar, spoken or typed, give you enough to get to know someone? Stranger danger, right? Now, I have not looked at the questionnaire, but I have heard that this is the first class they wanted held. It's 50 questions. I have to take it too. I've been advised to give y'all the okay to listen to music while taking the questionnaires. Go ahead and take your time with it, but I also want another volunteer to come up and introduce himself. A 28-year-old by the name of Tyson Montgomery was chosen for the hands that went up. He walked down in very little clothing. Shorts, muscle tank, watch glasses, and split-toe sandals. It's October, but I'm not going to say anything. Buzz cut head with a somewhat low beard, with gray eyes makes him look pretty studly, and a lot of us looked at his butt because those shorts were way too small for him. I know he's Sonny, Dunny, Gunny, and Runny's type. I can hear them whispering to each other, then hearing Sonny ask me big, right? We silently chuckled before Tyson fully turned around and started introducing himself. He said, "Howdy everyone, I'm Tyson. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm just here in Charlotte, moved up after graduating Full Sail because of it being called the Queen City and its ever-growing LGBT community. I'm a graphic artist and bartender. Been working here almost immediately after moving here. Should I go in a particular direction, Dope?" Dope says, "You're doing good, but can you tell us who you would try to talk to at Pride?" Tyson immediately started pointing to all of the younger guys while saying, "I like my age range mostly. I try to stick to dating them, keeping things late because of a bad relationship during college. I was with an older guy who tried to manipulate every aspect of my life, almost hindered my entire college life. I think he was the main reason I didn't do the fraternity thing. I often feel like I missed out on some youth of my life because of him." Dope interrupts with, "So I noticed that you pointed to about 20 of the guys in the upper rows. You don't have any racial preferences or size preferences?" Tyson says no, then Dope asks him, "What was your ex like?" Tyson thinks before saying, "Like somebody I wish I never met. I had to do some heavy psychiatric visits for a few years to deal with it because I messed up my family and my relationship with them. I just associate him with pain." Dope asked him, "How do you deal with pain? How did you deal with it at first versus how you deal with it now?" Tyson said he didn't want to answer. Dope was about to say something, but a friend of Tyson said, "You can't heal unless you talk about it." Tyson started laughing as I started thinking about Corey Holcomb. Then I started thinking, that nigga is everywhere. Then started laughing. Tyson eventually said, "I didn't have any kind of relations with guys the entire time I was seeking psychiatric help. Medications and personal choices led to that. That's how I dealt with the pain he caused. Now I feel better and I don't deal with it at all, even when guys remind me of him. Something in me will always like him." Dope interrupted with, "Not love him?" Tyson said, "I can't use that word. I don't want to think that I loved him, so I won't even say it. With him not being in my head as much, I don't have to deal with him as much." Then I asked, "What is his name?" Tyson answered with, "I'll never say his name again." Then I say, "My kind of man." Then Dope says ditto, followed with a question. "I want to congratulate you on triumphing over him mentally. But if an older guy came up to you anywhere and asked you out, would you go with him?" Tyson answered with no, strictly my age and a little younger. Yes, I'm stuck on not reliving that part of my life, but I know what I want, what I like, and what I need. None of it has to deal with him, and I like to think that I treat people with enough respect without doing anything to them negatively. I like to treat people the way I treat them. Honesty is the best policy, after all." We all applaud a little, then Dope tells him that'll do it as Tyson goes back to his seat. Dope didn't really know how to respond to that first. It took him a while to read through his notes before responding. When he finally put the documents down, he said, "You see how easy it was for Tyson to open up about his past? Imagine how easy it is for you to open up to strangers in a large group, as this one, or in solitude. Imagine the fragility of what it means to have the means of communication we have, what it does to the body, what it does to the mind, and what it does to your energy. I say these things because we all consciously and subconsciously process things in different ways. He keeps looking at me the most throughout this class so far. He is still talking to the entire room, but I find him staring at me a lot. He continues with, this questionnaire is basically the beginning. Have fun with it and try not to focus too much on Terrance, Marco, Trent, or Tyson, or each other. Then we all chuckle because of the smile on Dope's face as he keeps pointing at people randomly. The first questionnaire was mighty quick. Like he said, 50 questions asking about preferences, physical ones and personality ones. Then there were questions that had us listing stuff. All of it wasn't bubble made. It looked beautiful to me that way because I surely didn't want to have to answer a question about a list of celebrities, and I couldn't choose the ones I wanted to mention. Rockman Dunbar came up in one, which made me look up at Dope, who was staring at me while he was pretending to be on his computer. I think we stared at each other for a while before we both glided our hands across our scalps. I hope no one saw that, but after I got done with my questionnaire, I went to walk down the hall and back until Dope came out in the hallway to holler at everyone that everyone was done with the first questionnaire. Dope was late. I know the site and the brochure said no food, but I brought something for everyone to munch on. Some cookies. Eat them. Even if you're on one of those gluten-free types. Even if you're on a diet. But not if you're a diabetic. But if you are, get your pen out and eat them anyway. They're good, like Scary Movie 2 good. I laughed the hardest at that, even though he didn't look like he was joking, but many others laughed too. We all got a cookie as he walked up and down the aisles, then to the other side of the room. We got 2 apiece. They were moist, soft, gooey, and cooler than a squid's tentacles. We all said thank you, but I had my fingers over my lips because I really wanted to thank him. They had to be homemade. Then we all realized they had weed in the recipe because we were all laughing throughout the second part of the class. Eventually. Dope had us talking about the aftermath of hooking up once in our city while traveling, dating without sex, dating with sex, all within a period of 1 month to a year. I wish he wouldn't have called Sonny up to introduce himself, but after that I realized that the middle ages of the grand range of ages in this room were meant to be the focal point of each section of the class. Sonny was told to explain what rejection feels like to him, what success feels like to him. After he explains who he is, what he does for a living, and why he looks the way he looks, Sonny was reluctant to say what he was asked to say, but I was ready, and so were the IESs. Sonny slowly opened up with, well, hello everyone. I'm Steven Vanders. I'm known as Sonny, and yes, I'm Sunhead on Grindr. I'm a software tech developer and app creator. I graduated college multiple times with degrees in arts and engineering. Creating is something I hold dear to me, but I'm nowhere near as creative as my friend Barney. He is Terrance, Mr. Lavender on the face. He's a very good friend of mine. I look like the way I want, sunspark haircuts, kind of regal, kind of preppy because that's how I grew up. I range from many things to other things mentally, but I keep it simple with clothing. Barney calls me and the other IESs platinum from time to time. It's funny. I get called up here to talk about what rejection and successes feel like to me. Barney rejected me for months because I'm not his type. He is indeed my type because he's art forward, different forward, one of a kind in this just from looking at him. But I'm not his type and didn't want to accept no until he told me in person. I made him go on a date with me after months of just chatting with me. He told me that I'm not his type because I'm too white, thin, and rich for him, telling me that he doesn't like blondes, he likes chubs, he likes heavies, and he doesn't want to deal with anyone that makes him feel like they will hold money over his head or a piece of meat. I'm not going to tell y'all how much I make, but I did come to that date with a gift. He wouldn't accept it, but he did pay for dinner even though I already paid for it. He ended up getting the cost of the dinner from the waitress and gave it to me that night. I finally understood he doesn't do anything he wouldn't, and he treated me with respect the whole night. Even though I was in agony because the way he talks about things is poetry and sound itself. I had to accept that I'm not what he wants and I can't buy him, but I still make him come out to things like this with me and my other friends. Now when I actually get to date guys, I feel like $1 billion. Big. Like I'm swimming in clouds. Something Barney often says. until the course runs out. I'm happy with the guy I'm dating. All of my friends have to put up with the, oh my God, conversations we profusely have when I make contact with a good guy. When I finally meet him, make out with him for the first time to the 15th time. Date him, and if I'm lucky enough, introduce him to my friends. It's literally like cheering for the team I bet on that wins at a Super Bowl party. Yes, I'm annoying when I win. Popping champagne with a smile while looking up into heaven for weeks on end, and you won't bring me down. We all laugh as Dope asks him, so you have been friends with your rejectee for how long? I scream. I scream. I scream. I scream. We are not inclined to answer that question, ever. Stay out our business. Everyone laughs because I immediately stood up when that question was asked and turned around to make it known to everyone to not expect answers in a huge smiling kind of way. Dope told me not to be like that. Then Sonny answers with, we've been good friends for about 3 years. Then was asked what gift did he get me on our first date. Sonny looked at me to get him to go ahead and answer. Sonny answered with, I got Terrance a purple customized glitter pen to go with his lavender beard. He didn't accept the gift until I saw him again. He has it hanging somewhere in his house. Everyone awes except for me. Danny, Gunny, and Ronnie are laughing the hardest though, so I stick my middle fingers up at the three of them. Dope then asks Sonny, does he always bring a gift on his first date? Sonny says he does. Sonny goes to reclaim his seat with Dope continuing with, in our world, we have good guys like Sonny, who hope is bright as the sun. Then we have bad guys that work against hope. We have people that are eternal like the sun, bright forever, even when half of the world is dark. We have people who are constantly dark, like the backside of the planet, even though it's spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. They choose to run 1,000 miles per hour to stay in the darkness, when they could stand still and absorb some light for 12 hours. I personally care which one you are because we need a lot of light in the LGBTQIA. But like Tyson, we stumble across bad guys every so often. It takes a strong heart to deal with rejection and successes in healthy ways. But you have to take in consideration that every bad guy to you may not necessarily be a bad guy to another guy, and vice versa. It's not for everybody. It's not a buffet. I wanted to interrupt him because he said something I'd say. Then I felt Sonny hit me. I looked at him and all the ISs, then I looked at them like I don't care if he said something I say. Like I'm supposed to say something. Then Gunny's annoyingly brave ass was like, excuse me, Dope? Excuse me, Dope? Where did you get that phrase from? The it's not for everybody, it's not a buffet phrase. Dope answered with from a song. Then Gunny said, what song? Dope got awkward with his answer. Slowly he said, Rich Girl's Honeycomb? Then Gunny said thank you while looking me deep in my soul. Dope stayed silent to watch the five of us act a fool while they snuggled silently along with me. Dope then asked Gunny what was the fuss about. I say just continue, then we got a long okay from Dope, followed with some laughter. Dope continues with, I need another old head and young head. Actually, let me get 3 of each. 3 youngsters come from the back while the next old heads next to Trent get up. Darnell, Timothy, and Paul were joined by Cedric, Kyle, and Manish. A black older man, white older man, and Latino older man, with a black younger man, white younger man, and an Indian younger man. Generations were obvious between these 3. Then Dope began to tell us where our heads should be with this segment. He had them get into 3 couples to represent a no couple, a maybe couple, and a yes couple. They were asked to give a statement telling what they would say not to, what they would say maybe to, and what they would say no to. Giving the older guys the go ahead to go first so the younger guys can rebuttal them with another no, maybe, and yes. It was confusing at first until they went through it once. It got very candid and real for a second when they were talking about the things they would never do, to being provoked, to doing the things they would do. It also got downright comedic because of the weed levels in those cookies. I found myself laughing extremely hard because everyone was really laughing while trying to conduct themselves properly. I liked how Darnell said, I'll never marry again. He explained why he wouldn't, and it took a while for Cedric to say something back to him. Cedric said, He'll never give him the time of day. Understandable. Timothy said he might be open to ideas that revolve around race cars, water sports, or physical activities. Kyle was thinking X-rated and got very flustered. The red in his face was obvious, and so was the laughter. When Kyle finally regained his composure, Timothy said his piece again, then Kyle said, "I might kiss you like a lifeguard." I laughed at how Dope facepalmed himself, and I wanted to lay him a hand with it. We eventually moved on from the hooting and hollering to Paul ruining the rest of the segment for all of us. Paul said without skipping a beat, "Yes to every nasty, depraved, tie you down, tie you up, suck you in, and never let you out fantasy your mind has ever made up. Even the principal with a ruler fantasy you told me about last weekend." Wow, was a major consensus of a reaction. Then Dope asked them, do they know each other? They both said yes, as Manish was simply watering at the mouth, waiting for his chance to rebuttal that bogus statement. Dope told Manish he shouldn't say what he wanted, because if Paul is in a playful mood in front of strangers, no telling how true that statement was, and did not want the class to get messed up. Everyone kept telling Manish to go ahead and get it out, so he silenced everyone eventually to say, "I want to make you go, at every red light. Green light, give you freaking memories, so you can always be like, damn." Hooting and hollering continued as the daddy boy relationship was literally exposed in front of our eyes. Yes, Dope and I were really staring at each other throughout all of that bogus shit. There was a third wave of the no's, maybes, and yeses. Once the men got back to their seats, Dope let us know that this was part of the teasing dynamics. How many people immediately say what they want? Some people edge what they want, and some people put it all out there. I wanted to put something out there, and I'm sure other people wanted to as well. Moving right along, we kept talking amongst ourselves about teasing and the effects of it. Teasing turned to games and drama, which had us all thinking extremely hard on how this class was flowing smoothly on the whole dynamic of how gay men talk to each other. I was just sitting there spacing off on all the times I showed too much tail and too much cock to a lot of people, knowing good and well I never slide it in or allow someone else to slide it in. How long it took me to mature into actually claiming my asexuality. Yet I still maintain my X-rated profiles on X2, Chatterbait, Camphor, and Tumblr. Sharing is caring, right? Until teasing becomes hectic, the dynamic of conversation grows longer and longer with our meeting the things each other wants. Goodness knows all I want is to have a good time and bust nuts. Elaborating on what I consider a good time, endless conversation, random memes, random art, talking shit, facing adversities, facing one's inner self, questioning your own way of life, evaluating everything and anything while sharing all of that information openly. Plus, dabbling into art never dulls my senses. It actually heightens them and makes me crave more intimate contact with a man. I have been in many situations where I've put my foot in my mouth because I tease a man way too much. I don't want to do that again because it hurts all of us, especially with how much attraction is seriously between him and I every time. Now I'm thinking about teasing Dope some, but after 20 minutes of random guys taking the floor and talking about the dynamics of teasing in gaming, we all opened up the second questionnaire. It's 75 questions, and all of it is about everything we just discussed, and then some. Then some being the dynamics of the relations we get into and how we define them. From acquaintances to buddies to fuck buddies to friends with benefits to boy toys to daddies to secret lovers to extra lovers to boyfriends to husband material. Kinda blew my mind with all of the terminology they involved in this questionnaire. Made me feel like I should never leave. Once I finish again, which is somewhat faster than most of the room, I go walk the hallways again. Dope follows me when I immediately leave the class. We get to talking amongst ourselves as we oddly end up mostly alone through the halls. No small talk, right into it. As soon as he made it in the hall, he asked, "So, you have a staring problem?" I told him that I'm too blind to have a staring problem. Then we just started talking about the things happening in the classroom. At one time, I told him it was mad dope that his tattoo just makes everyone stare into it. I asked him what it represented. He told me, "This tattoo is my life motto. It's about the love I will conquer someday." After my 6-year relationship that ended about 3 years ago, I felt like I needed to put this statement on my neck. I believe in it. The statement revolved around 4 I wills. That meant he will find the love of his life. He's a brave man to have his heart on his neck. After that explanation, he asked me, do my friends approve of him? I wanted to jump his bones as the yes, but I kindly just said it softly. He asked me, why did I say it so softly? I told him, because there's a lot of soft things I could do to you. He then said, do one of them. I grabbed his right hand with my left, his head with my right hand, clenched it, then whispered, temptation is a hell of a drug, isn't it? He smelled like a bakery. When extremely close to him, I paused before backing up. He clenched my hand I was holding. He told me to ask him that question again, so I did until he stopped. I think he was high on life by this point. Then he finally said yes after the 6th time. Then we started laughing stupidly. I invited him on a date tomorrow whenever, but we have to go on one. He said we could do that and like that. But we walked back to the classroom instead, and we got a reaction from most of the guys. Ronnie was eavesdropping on us in the hallway, so we were welcome to some hooting and hollering. I ended up walking back to my seat with my finger over my lips, but strutting like I'm the man of the day, and so was Dope as he walked in front of me. After everyone quieted down, Dope's assistant, Layla, came in with enough sandwiches for everyone and a soda. Perfect kind of snack for after sex situations, but it really did feel like that, like I was released at maximum capacity. After he finished his sandwich, he started to welcome us into the final segment, the movement segment. Dope went on with, this is the movement segment, where we either move on or move into a status of some sort. I want to remind everyone of the following words: respect, inspiration, ambition, stillness, movement, trajectory, emotions, stories, and facts. Out of all of those words, movement is the most dominant and important when it comes to relations. Our hearts are always moving, and it's very hard to align speeds together, unless you're toting psychic abilities. Don't expect to be able to expect your opposites' moves. Bad days, good days, accidents, freak accidents, alone time, away time, impromptu family time. All factors and mood swings, and yes, there's more to that. Then there's the roots to our own motives in life. What direction will they take us in, and can we bring our opposites with us? With the world constantly moving, there's rarely a dull moment. So I want us to think, how can you move along another man without losing communication? Take in consideration that the inspiration that led y'all to determining your relationship should be kept up over stillness. As long as you respect his emotions, deal with his stories, will you be able to remember the facts that got you there? That's how I think about it. Who wants to elaborate on what they think the movement means? The man sitting directly behind me, named Benjamin, gets up to occupy the center circle. Benjamin clears his throat to introduce himself. So, my name is Ben. Been a crazy lot of words today, huh? I'm from Hartford, Connecticut. I have 4 brothers. I'm the oldest. We get along, but my coming out affected the entire family regardless of there being no divorces in a preceding generation. Yeah. 5 couples on my mother and father's side combined. Still together, but I haven't had that luck with securing that kind of love. I'm 35. Still have somewhat of some hope, but it dwindles every time I'm out and about, hoping I might get lucky and just stumble on a good man. I've almost had love, but when I found out I was a slide, it wasn't a good year for me. Recovering from that was a bit tragic to the point that I was questioning if I was alive. Not good enough, but alive because my ambitions and inspirations were gone. But I too feel like Dope's words are powerful. He has talked us into some heavy thought processes that have me evaluating the trash I've put up with. Noticing all of the lovers I know that it's a lovely thing when it's caught. Catching something steadily on the move can seem disastrously hard. It confuses me because I see couples, thruples, fruples making things work. I don't care about their lack of getting enough love or how lonely they are. Deep down inside, I just care that they found some happiness in another person or people, traversing their interactions or journeys in themselves. From stranger danger to breaking the ice and dates to meeting to random sightings, they moved in the same direction. I do wonder what direction we'll all move in after today. If you're dealing with a guy right now, I hope he's good. Good luck, everyone, but don't try to get with an old flame. If it didn't work out the first time, chances are you'll be ruining your time again. All I could think of was speed. What speed Dope and I would be moving at? As he glanced at me as Ben went back to his seat. Dope wanted to surprise everyone at my expense, so he called up an Indian guy, about 28 years old, by the name of Khan. The focal point went to the very first row in the center, where it was I, Sonny, Dunny, Gunny, Ronnie, and a man named Juan. An African, German, Scandinavian, two Creoles, an Irishman, and a Mexican. Dope simply asked him if he was pursuing a relationship with the six of us, give us the speed in which he thinks we move. Khan joked and said that Dope already knows what speed I move in. Hardy hard filled the air that he started thinking. Dope started thinking some more too. Khan eventually opened his mouth with, Terrance seems like he doesn't care. Good luck with it. Seriously, he looks like he doesn't think about relations much. Sonny seems like he is a Speedy Gonzalez. So does Dunny, Gunny, and Ronnie. Juan looks like he would go at his opposite speed. Dope says, I agree with you on Terrance. He's been acting like he doesn't care all day because he hadn't joined in many of the conversations other than his introduction. Sonny moves at the speed of light, pun intended. Dunny is very casual, it seems. His seriousness moves every month or a few months. Gunny moves at the speed of bullets, pun intended. Ronnie moves at the speed of cheetahs, pun intended. One seems like he's a hop, skip, and a jump away from putting a ring on it. We all laughed and Dope asked the six of us to come in on his and Khan's speculations. Gunny agrees with moving fast. He said that life is short and he likes thrills. The few guys he messes with all know about each other, but since he's not a man of seriousness, he will more than likely not enter a serious relationship until his mid-40s. Sonny said all he is a big spender. His heart moves at a different speed than his giving nature. Makes it hard to keep a track of his movements, and he admits that a very contradicting thing, but told everyone I'm the worst with contradiction. Everyone waits for me to interject like I'm actually going to. I just remain silent until I have to tell Juan to speak up. He clears his throat and says he's more of what Khan said. If I get a good vibe from a guy I'm dating, I'll let him control the relationship unless a deal breaker comes up. It's a very intimidating conversation to have with a guy, but if you give a man control and let them talk about it, you can find out a lot of things immediately. Ronnie agreed with him, then made the buzzer noise to make Dope and Khan feel like losers for getting his speed incorrect. He corrected them by saying he's more of a slowpoke when it comes to dating. He can date a man 4 times in a week and still be like, this a buddy of mine. Won't even move past making out. We keep them far from his heart. The foster system did that to him. Donnie, on the other hand, said he's faster than everyone in this room and he'll write a love letter to Ben right now if he wanted to. Oh boy. Ben started blushing because I turned around to look at him, and so did everyone else. Dunning was the last one to turn around, but by the time he did, Ben had slid down into the chair with his hands over his face. We were all cracking up. Then I had to say something to the veil of the lights and fireworks in Dope's eyes again. I rolled my eyes, then went about my spell like so. I care. If you get my attention, I'll go hard for you like the Energizer Bunny. I'll react to what I'm giving, and if you give me the endless conversations I enjoy, I'm yours. I can't help it. Faster than a frisbee missing a quadriplegic's mouth. Then Sonny was like, why you ruin it? We can't have you in the front row for anything. Then I got louder. I ain't do nothing wrong. Why you yelling? And then start laughing. Woo! Then start laughing at Sonny's mad face while the other ISs start screaming, "You mad! You mad!" Which made me start laughing horribly worse. Dope was facepalming, but laughing. Khan was nervous, but laughing, and the room reacted accordingly. When we finally settled, Dope simply asked me, "Let's get off subject real quick. Terrance, are you always that dark?" I shake my head yes, then he starts facepalming himself again. Sonny attempts to push me out of my seat, but I still end up laughing as I slowly fall over and end up on the steps beside me. I stay laughing for a long time, then start crying from the laughing pains. When I was finally done, Dope asked me to evaluate Khan and himself. I went first. I asked Khan, play along with me. Come sit on my lap, just come on. He is reluctant to do it, but he does it anyway. As I say, I like that you like me too. We all laugh. After Khan sits on my lap, I rub his tummy then ask, "Are you the kind of guy that falls for bad boys?" I knew it. He gets up there, returns to what Dope is. I asked Dope to do the same thing. But Dope is braver than I thought. He pulled back the desktop, then straddled me. He asked if I had a question for him. My hands grabbed his backside because he literally invited me to do so. Then I asked, "Do you want my help?" He instantly said yes. The reactions to his reaction were priceless. Sonny took out a folder and started fanning us while hooting and hollering went on. During that hooting and hollering, we heard a few make out alreadys. I told Dope to stop teasing me because we could blow this university up. He told me he's not afraid of me, so I squeezed him just right and he instantly gets up. He had to go sit at his desk to hide you know what. Left Khan standing in the center of the room looking all awkward, then asked him if he wants to take over the class. Khan said he couldn't, but Dope said he's one of the students that came up with this class in the first place, while still holding majority of his eye contact with me. Khan rushes back to his seat to hide you know what, while all of the ISs tell me they can't take me anywhere. Yes, I ruined the class. After Khan takes his seat, Dope asks everyone, what would they do if Terrance was your man? The responses. Sonny instantly said marry him while looking directly at me. Then we start laughing with a high five. Then Dope asked everyone if Khan was your man, what would you do? He went around the room with the front row first, then started saying random guys that have spoke up today, asking everyone about relationship material in the grand scheme of love and vulnerability. End game. He warned us to really dig deep on the end game side of everything. The next questionnaires would be 100 questions with repeat questions from this questionnaire to really gauge our minds. When he said that, I got a little nervous, but I did need to get away from Dope ASAP before I got sucked into him. The last thing I need is another love letter season. I open my questionnaire, put some music on, and get to answering questions again for this wide range survey. Messing around with Khan and Dope had my head all messed up, but we were all in good spirits about this communication class for the LGBTQIA males of the world. I hope we all walk away with the ability to communicate easier between cultures, between time zones, between atrocities, and between joy. I heard so many byes and farewells, then I was there with my group in Dope Donovan. I was waiting to holler at him since he's been staring and directing nonsense at me all day. Then I heard Gunny get into an uproar followed by, "I don't care about cock blanket. Hey Barney, get your ass up. I know you're done and we aren't leaving without you. It's called Bros before..." Bros? Then we all laughed stupidly, get into a small spat. Gunny is just messing with me, but I really do want to holler at Dope. There he was, reclining with his feet on his desk, shoes off and all relaxed while watching me and the guys approach his desk. Dope said bye to them and looked at me. I looked at him looking at me, then he says, "It's been a morning of mornings, right?" I answer with, "Yeah, about that. So why are you here and not over in Milan or something?" He chuckles in a manner he hasn't all day, as if the blushing is making him embarrassed. I mean, he's the one in a burgundy button-down with black diamonds, padded up and down it, with a pine green tie that has been hanging around the collar all day. charcoal slacks all black, and shiny dress shoes chilling in the side of the desk. His silver watch with a single silver heart bracelet keeps maneuvering around the bottom of it, but he gets all red when someone says his big boy socks wearing ass should be a model. Okay. He finally collects his marbles to say, the only modeling I could ever do is probably for Butch Dixon. But don't look at me like I'm all chocolate and all play. You're going to get spread across the world messing with me. I tell him, words like those will change the words on your neck and have you traveling the world in silence. Try me with all that suave if you feel like it. Dope chuckles and says, we all going to dinner. We all going to Five Guys. We are keeping it simple. I smile, look him up and down, touches his tummy just for kicks, and say, I don't care where we go, as long as we can look out a window and talk back to each other. Ronnie was eavesdropping on us in the hallway, so we were welcome to some hootering. Hootering! Ronnie was eavesdropping. Shit was stupid, what? Oh no!